Hello, and welcome to Have At Us Reviews for Your Pleasure. And I'm Nisha.
I'm Joshua.
This is episode 20, and today we are reviewing the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Doing this in 3 episodes, so this is the Fellowship of the Ring. We're also going to split this up. We're going to have Fellowship and Two Towers this week, and Return of the King will be next week. And we're going to spoil this whole ridiculously long movie.
So we gotta get right into it.
Do we though? Like, what's so good about it?
I'm gonna tell you what's so good about it.
Yeah, I would like to hear right away something that is just exceptionally great about this film.
Basically every minute.
Every minute. You know how many minutes I was probably engaged in this film?
At least 30.
5 or less, I feel like.
Whew, that's pretty good.
Maybe it was closer to 10, but it was not more than 10.
I mean, that's pretty sacrilegious.
Is that sacrilegious?
It's pretty bad.
Like, on a scale of how bad my opinions have been so far in relation to the populace.
Yeah.
How far down is that?
I mean, I've heard of worse, but...
You've heard of worse?
There's always somebody, right? But you're pretty low.
Well, I guess we'll begin at the beginning. We'll just start right there. And how bored I was for so long. I always forget that this movie starts with this long explanation of how we got to the ring thing. But it doesn't even really explain itself well enough for me to feel like it warranted a long explanation.
I think you're out of your mind, bro. The opening is exceptional.
Exceptional.
Oh, yeah.
Name me one exceptional thing right now.
The line delivery.
The line delivery is serviceable.
No, it's
It
great.
works. It's not bad, but it is far from exceptional.
It also just sets the tone for a lot of aspects of the film. It shows what the ring is and how many other rings there are. You see the 9 human kings that fall, so you kind of get an image for that. You see these elves that got some rings. You see some dwarfs. No one cares about the dwarfs, though. They're irrelevant. But that's fine. And then you see this battle take place, and you see humans and elves fighting together.
Mm-hmm.
And this coalition, stop this guy, this Sauron guy. He's not doing too good. So they come together, and you see a history where they got along, at least to some extent. And then later in the film, you'll see that their relations aren't too strong. Elves look down on the men. The men are kind of aloof and believe they're better than maybe what they are. There's a lot of history there that you can get glimpses of just immediately. That's really insightful. And then you see this story of this ring traveling through time, which is really cool. And it gives you a sense of how it got to where it is now in a very effective way. Honestly, I feel like this thing could be... You could have an opening that's 10 minutes longer, and it'd still be good. Like, there's a lot that you could go over, and I wouldn't be bored. I'd be excited.
It feels weird to me to just start way out there. And I don't have a concept of time, of how long it's been, or how, this is really happening. I don't know, how long they've had these rings. Why are we starting here? What's so special about this? How does the One Ring actually control all these things? How much of a threat was Sauron really? I don't know. He seems pretty non-threatening. They went to his gates. He wasn't out at one of their places, knocking on their gates. I just am what is so threatening about this? How did he make these rings? Was it magical? I don't know. The amount of questions that I have to start asking because I'm not engaged in it becomes a lot. And then I'm oh, great. This goes on for what feels like 30 minutes. I'm telling you, I sat there and I was oh, the intro's still go. Where have we been? Well, I think we've sat here for 30 minutes. Oh, man.
I'm not actually sure how long the intro actually is. It's probably around 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm just not, I'm not exceptionally engaged with, the narration of it. It's not bad, but it's not engaging to me. I don't care about this ring having a will of its own weirdness. What is that? That's weird. That's what it is.
Well, I think that's cool. I think even the opening shot, it's just a black screen, but then you hear the voice come in of Galadriel's voice, start narrating. And then it still takes a little while to actually see a shot. And that, to me, just pulls me right in. And I'm okay. I just feel like her delivery there captivates me. And then when I do start seeing things, I'm engaged. I want to see what this is all about. And I also just really like the idea of time over like millennia. So this concept of like these legends turning to myth, and then myth becomes forgotten because it's been so long. Like, that's a really engaging concept to me. Hence, one of the things I like about Wheel of Time. But that concept of just time going on and it's forgotten. But then you have these elves, right? Elrond, who is there, living it, and he's seen this passage of time. And so you have these kind of keepers, or like these chroniclers of time. Like, that's a really cool concept.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad concept, but I only, look at that and know that that's Elrond because I've seen these films before. I don't look at that and know that time one.
Well, sure.
I don't know how cool he is, right?
But you learn it when you get to Rivendell. You're like, oh, that's that guy.
Yeah, and by Rivendell, I'm already long past the point of entertained. Like, Rivendell was a good section. We'll talk about that when we get there, but like, oh man, getting there, that's a long trip. Yeah. That is not very entertaining.
Yeah, so you have this opening, and then it transitions from Galadriel's voice to Bilbo, and he's narrating his book and kind of the story of, well, maybe not the story, but like the lives of hobbits and their creeds and their way of life, their interests or lack thereof. And you have this really cool footage that goes through the town, and you see an assortment of people, you see an assortment of personality, and it really gives you a sense of like life and like enjoying yourself. Like, this seems like a place where it's like, yeah, this looks comfortable, and that narration is just kind of reaffirming what you're feeling from seeing it. It's really well done.
I do agree that I think that the Bilbo section of things is fine. It tells me about the hobbits. I'm not like over here having to ask 40 questions about the hobbits. They're kind of just there. They live their pitiful farming existence. They don't have any good conveniences, except for when Gandalf brings fireworks in, and they love it. Oh. Except for, they don't really like Gandalf, except for the children, it seems. So I don't really know where Gandalf actually stands with the hobbits. Just 6 feet above them. That's all I know.
He's a little bit taller.
Yeah, the visuals match Bilbo's thing very well, and that's fine. But that's just, it's more information dump, which is useful information for a little bit. It's not really useful for much longer than that, though.
Well, it gives you a sense of, because you have a lot of hobbits through these films within your main cast, it gives you that backstory of who they were and what life they're coming from. And so the largeness of the world is given a different perspective from, like, Aragorn's. Like, obviously they're going to have different perspectives, and what they might find frightening or overwhelming is entirely different. And so it does a really good job of setting up the past and the perspective going forward for some of your main characters.
Okay, but I already think that is accomplished better with, like, Merry and Pippin. I think they tell you everything you need to know about the Hobbit life by just going through this adventure.
Well,
right?
Merry and Pippin are a bit of on the scoundrel side. They're a little upstarty. They're getting into trouble. I don't know that they're the best representative.
I mean, they want to kind of live a pretty simple life. Yeah, they're like the teenage kids causing trouble, but I don't look at them and assume that everybody's a teenage kid in this place. Bilbo's 111.
Yeah, I mean, dang.
He is no longer a spring chicken.
No, he's trucking along. Pretty old.
You're all about his celebration. Gandalf comes rolling up.
Indeed.
And all the children and Frodo are very excited.
Who wouldn't be? A wizard's coming into town, putting on a firework display. That's the most excitement you get in a year.
I like Gandalf in these scenes. He's a nice old man doing his thing. And that's fine. I wasn't really engaged in that because I've seen it. I'm like, yeah, Gandalf's a nice guy. But you're about to not be a nice guy, and I know that too. Like, so I don't know, buddy. Whatever. You're here, doing your thing. Goes and sees Bilbo. They have their little talk.
What I like is that they reference a lot of things that happen in The Hobbit. Now, obviously, not talking about the films, more of the book and the story that takes therein. And a lot of that would probably be missed by somebody who's got no knowledge of the past. But I like that it's still there for somebody who is knowledgeable, and they reference these events a little bit. I think that's really cool. It's nice touches.
It just establishes the relationship that he has with Gandalf.
Yeah, it certainly helps.
That's it. That's all it really does.
Well, it also helps with, like, why does Bilbo have this knowledge of an outer world and have these items later in the film, like Sting and the Mithril shirt and all these things. And it's like, okay, well, there's certainly that adventure.
I don't feel like it does this magical thing like you're trying to make it out to be. I feel like you're trying to make this out like it magically raises the value of this film by some arbitrary degree. It's just more information dump. We haven't moved on from the information dump, and we're like 20, 30 minutes into this film.
I think it enhances the film for people who are already fans of the Tolkien universe, Middle Earth. If you come into this film back in '01, then you go in, maybe you're a little skeptical, right? But you get all this knowledge kind of rewarded for you, these nuggets that you see, and you go, yeah, the person who made this, they're knowledgeable, they care. And I think that's definitely a rewarding and enhancing bit of film time for those people.
They did the basic requirement. You are making a film about a realized world of books. So you need to realize the world in a visual format and make it work. You did that. Great. I'm not impressed by this. I'm not feeling like you need a gold star because you did your job right.
I mean, compared to other adaptations, I think it's certainly deserving, so.
It's not about comparing it to other adaptations. It's about this specific film, right? Yeah. You don't get a gold star because you did your job right and everybody else sucks at it.
I think your standards are just too high then. This is just done in a way that does deserve that gold star because they did meet the standards and exceeded a lot of them.
Again, you're trying to make this sound like they did an exceptional job. And they did their job. There's a difference here.
Mm-hmm.
But you're wrong, and I'm right as always.
Okay.
Because I am the righteous man. But we've information dumped basically everything, and now we're basically at the celebration.
The big party.
Yeah, and they're doing their thing, and it introduces you to these characters, and I went, okay, great. Sam's a shy kid doing his thing, and he likes barmaid wench girl. Okay.
I mean, who doesn't?
I don't think that, the Hobbit people in any sense look attractive as the women. Not a single bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't.
You're interested in women taller than you.
I mean, I don't know if that's a reference to, the elves, or if you're just, making random jokes.
Oh, I'm just calling you short.
Oh, okay, well, I'm 6'3", I will remind you. It's harder to find a woman who's taller than me.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
I find generally people taller than me in my life, but women especially. I think I've only seen, 2 or 3 women in my life who were taller than me. Anyway, irrelevant. You get, Merry and Pippin are the troublemakers, doing their thing. And they sell that role. So, that's fine. They're a bunch of troublemakers, being idiots. They're very unintelligent. Just so stupid.
Yeah.
But how other people react to them works for me on how stupid they are. We're not rewarding them for being stupid. They're not really, comic relief necessarily. They're, just a part of the world as idiots. And other people look at them and are like, oh, you morons. And I appreciate that, because I think, wow, you guys are morons.
You have one that does show some insightful intelligence in the film. And then you have the other, who's, he's lost a few bolts, but it's fine. He's brave, I guess. He's here to help, and he's always helping. Always finding good ways to help out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not really, ever. But I like the dragon firework.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool scene.
I kind of forget about that. I'm like, oh yeah, that was cool. I liked that. I was engaged for 10 seconds there. Woo.
Nice. 10 seconds, let's go.
Doing good.
No.
Racking it up.
Starting somewhere.
But then immediately it just kind of goes back down. I didn't really love the Bilbo's speech. He's playing this out, and then it seems like he's just up there, not understanding what to do from his first little bit.
Well, so it's just because you've planned it out doesn't mean it's easy to abandon everything and to truly just disappear. So I think you see that hesitation and a little bit of regret, and it really comes across well. Because he does hesitate. Now, his speech is pretty... I kind of wish it was longer. It's a little short, but I think with it being condensed, I think it works pretty well. He goes through a whole bunch of the Hobbit families. That's useful information. You really need to know all of them.
Sure I do. I am positive. Now, I was kind of hating on the speech game. And then he runs away, and Gandalf confronts him, and you kind of see the ring have its power and hold over him.
It's a really effective way to show the seductive nature of the ring and how it's hard to let go and hard to resist. And with that scene, you understand that this is infecting Bilbo to a pretty large degree. Although, with it having been so much time since Bilbo first acquired it, you also get the sense that it can be resisted for a time. But eventually, you'll lose. So, with Bilbo, you see kind of a natural resistance to it. And then with Frodo being his successor, you see that maybe Bilbo saw in Frodo what was in him in that resilient nature. And it kind of gives a sense of like, okay, I can see this family being strong and able to carry the weight of the ring for a while, long enough to, destroy it. I think that's a pretty cool way to message to the watcher a lot of details and information and make you inherently understand a lot of facts about it.
And we started off on the same page, and then you decided you wanted to run away into fantasy land and add in a bunch of details that I don't think are actually there. But okay, I agree, it shows well how the ring is a temptation and a hard thing to deal with, and it's a burden. But the whole point that is stated by Gandalf later is that Sauron is now calling out for the ring and wants it back, which is why the burden is a big deal for Frodo and why Bilbo was able to carry the ring for so long just kind of nonchalantly. Right? There's a big difference there.
Sure.
It doesn't tell me that, he magically saw that Frodo could deal with the burden of the ring. What?
I'm not
a bunch of ridiculous
I'm not saying
nonsense.
that he saw that in particular, but I'm saying that he saw qualities within Frodo that are reflective of himself. He even says that in the film, right? Because he saw a lot of himself in Frodo. And those qualities, whether consciously or in the subconscious, are part of why he selected him as kind of like his heir to his house and all of his belongings. And so that gives a sense of the family. That's what I'm saying. Not that he thought, wow, someone needs to bear this ring, because he thought he'd keep the ring, right? But there's still that self-selected quality inside of Frodo. That's what I'm saying.
I'm still struggling to believe all the things you want to add into this, but that's fine. The important thing that I do want to complain about before we move forward is why when Gandalf gets angry or upset or needs to, make people afraid, does everything get dark? It's a fine visual effect, but why? Right? I'm not engaged enough to just move on from it. I need to know why.
Well, inside of the house, I think it's just him trying to create such a big commotion to kind of get through to Bilbo, right? Later on at the council scene, it's, I would assume, because he's speaking the language of Mordor, which is bad.
Yeah, but is that a spell? Does that naturally invite darkness? What is that, right?
Does it naturally do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that.
I do need to know that.
Well, I don't think that's really important.
I'm not engaged, and you're using it as a visual big deal. So part of what I should be engaged in is this, and you're not answering why it is.
I don't think it's something you need to know why. You get the feeling of danger from what's happening, which is the whole purpose of it in the first place. You get people to listen to you, ultimately, right? And I think when he speaks the Mordor tongue, the language itself, of course, being forbidden in Rivendell, and so the people who would recognize it are like, woof, this is bad and serious. And then you have that added effect where it feels like everybody can feel what's around them, and that evil malice, it gets everybody out of their arguments and focused up on what needs to happen. The purpose of the effect is used well. I don't need to know how it's working. He's a wizard, right? Whatever.
I mean, the difference is you were just choosing not to ask the question because you feel engaged at all times. I was not engaged at all times. I was engaged not most of the time. So I need to know why. Is he casting a spell? What is happening? Just anything. You could have accomplished that in a one-line deal, right? It would have been very simple. But you didn't do that, and I was not having that.
Okay, I mean, that just seems like a small thing to me.
I mean, I was already feeling like it was just dragging on. We were just dragging our feet to drag our feet. Like it was a pleasurable activity to drag your feet in this film. That's what it felt like. Yeah, I guess you got to build up calluses and, whatever on the hobbit feet, since they can never have shoes.
Yeah, that's part of their life. They wear no shoes. They got hobbit feet.
Uh-huh. Yeah. If that's what you were attempting to communicate, I feel like that was a failure.
I mean, the fact that they wear no shoes, I feel like conveys that they don't wear shoes.
Why are they in the snow with no shoes later, right?
Because they're people of the earth. They walk on their bare feet.
Uh-huh.
That's it. What more do you need?
We're going up to the mountain and we're going to put your feet in the snow and tell me how long that lasts.
Well, I'm not a hobbit.
Yeah, that's not an excusable deal. Bare skin on snow. I'm not believing this game.
I don't really see the problem with this either, right? It's like
how do you not see the problem?
It's like a racial trait, right? Like it's something that they do.
Was that ever explained? Was that ever told to me?
Do you want them to go? Did you want them to do more background information?
You could have put a 1-2 line thing into your already established Hobbit information dump. What's hard about that?
No, I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think it's actually pretty cool in that the details always show them not wearing feet. It always shows them having their hobbit feet out and they're hairy.
Yeah, but you're just assuming that that's a trait, right? I don't know that's a trait. I'm just supposed to assume that? You're already established that you just want to give me a bunch of information. I feel like that's a pertinent piece of information you would have given me. See how that works?
I just feel like simple observation in the film when you go, okay, they're in the snow and they don't have shoes on. Obviously, they're not going to ever wear shoes. They would have thought about that otherwise. Like, I just don't feel like you need a line for it.
You could have done a little scene. We're going in the snow. Do you guys want some shoes? No, we got hobbit feet. Man, okay, we explained something. I'm not asking for a lot, right? I'm just asking you to do what you've already chosen to do.
I just think this isn't an important thing at all.
It's a big deal. Anyway, back off the tangent. They drag their feet. You get Frodo over here with the ring thing. And then Gandalf runs away. And then I immediately have more problems. Where did he go?
You see where he goes.
Where?
To Gondor.
I know that's Gondor?
Yeah.
If I've never seen this film and I'm watching this, I know that's Gondor. How?
I'm not saying that the first time you see it, if you haven't read the books, yeah, obviously you don't. But again, he goes to a place where he's got some scrolls. And then later in the film, they mention a white city. Oh, look, maybe that matches up with the white city he was at in the film.
Okay, but we are not there yet. My point is, I don't know where he went. I don't know how far away it is. I don't know how much time is passing.
It doesn't.
I don't know what's happening in this time. Like, we're acting like time is of the essence later, but I don't know how much time has been wasted getting to this point, right? I don't know. I mean, is he in some secret archives or what is he doing? I have no real idea. Like, the scenes are shot fine, but I'm like, okay, I don't really know what's happening. We give time a lot of other places, but we just failed to give it there. We just said not important.
I mean, I'm sure that was more of a choice and stylistic approach, and I think it works well, particularly because I think when Gandalf is reading those scrolls, he's narrating in his head, right? And the way he reads that really sticks out to me a lot. And like, when I read like H.P. Lovecraft or something, that's kind of the tone and voice and cadence that I use in my head. It actually made a pretty big impression, that scene.
That's ridiculous. It's not a bad scene. It's, again, not exceptional, right? He's reading it off like he should, because it gives me, as the viewer, what's happening.
Yeah.
You just did your job again. Check the box. Like, I don't understand how this is exceptional. That makes zero sense to me.
It's about the details. It's the immersion, the way he gets that cup and drinks it. It's the way that the lighting reflects in the shots and how he's going down into this dark room, and you get the sense of these are not lost, but kind of, they're scrolls that aren't read very frequently. They're kind of knowledge that people don't really care about or pay much attention to. And all that detail is conveyed just through what you're seeing. It doesn't have to be told. You just see it and you know from the details in the world itself. It's that immersive factor that pulls you in and what makes it really good.
Yeah, I'm not immersed because you did your job right. Again, like I need something more than I know how to build the set and direct the scene right.
The problem is a lot of films can't do that. They're not good enough to do that. Like, it's because this is so good that it pulls it off.
Meeting standards, again, is not the same thing as being exceptional. Just because competition sucks doesn't mean that you are exceptional in the actual standards. Anyway, he comes back, and then we really get that the ring is bad and we gotta leave, basically. Yeah. And I liked the scene where Sam gets caught, though. And he, like, the direction of it, and he just, like, pulls him out and, like, throws him onto the table.
Yeah.
It was good. It was very believable, because Gandalf is so big.
Yeah.
But it just seems like he could easily rip him up out and just throw him onto the table.
Yeah, just little kids, just throw him around, no problem.
And so I like that. I thought that was really good.
Been cutting no eaves.
It's a weird statement, but they're hobbits, and, you know, it's a fantasy world, and I moved on.
Well, I think it's a fun statement. I like it a lot.
Okay. Well, that starts their adventure. I don't have anything particularly grand or negative to say in that regard on that.
When Sam and Frodo set off, and you get to the scene where Sam's like, one step further, and this is the farthest I've ever gone. There's a freaking video on YouTube that has it so that every time Sam takes a step, that scene plays. And it goes through, like, the entire movie. So every time you see Sam take a step in the movie, it plays that scene. And this video is very long, but it exists. And it always reminds me of that.
Someone's got too much time on their hands. That line serves its purpose, and I moved on.
Well, I mean,
it's not memorable to me at all.
It's never been a scene that stuck out to me in particular, but the video did stick out to me because I was impressed with how much time that probably took. Too much.
Far too much time.
Yeah.
But they're going on their way, and then they meet up with Merry and Pippin.
Yep.
Being bad people.
Stealing from Farmer Maggot, you know. Not the most glorious of endeavors, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get some food. Some carrots, some cabbage.
Yeah, that scene, you know, serves the purpose of bringing, the Nazgul in? Is that what they're called?
Well, I mean, it serves the purpose of, like, meeting up with them and bringing them into, like, the fold. And then, yeah, you get the first ring wraith that they encounter. Hunts under the roots of a tree and got a bunch of creepy crawlies coming in. Pretty gross looking. Nobody likes centipedes.
Centipedes are pretty creepy.
Ugh, disgusting. But yeah, you get a good ring wraith there.
Yeah, and I'm just not... I'm like, okay, great. They're bad. We already established that they're bad and they're scary. I'm not really sure how they get out of that. I'm not really sure why he's smelling things, because then Aragorn later is over here like, they're not really human or living, and I don't really know what that means or how that really plays out, but they got a sense of smell somehow.
That's actually one thing I've always been a little confused, is like smelling. Like, I get the sense that, okay, you feel the power of the ring or something, and like maybe that's why you stop. But I'm like, you're pretty damn close to this ring. It's literally like within a foot of your arm. I feel like you would feel its presence. I always felt that was a little weird.
Yeah, I just don't understand how they don't get caught there, right? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I feel like they should have been caught there myself. That's one of the few scenes where I go, it doesn't work quite well enough.
I just think if he hadn't got off the horse, it would have been fine. If he just like stopped, he was like, oh, and he was like, oh, no.
Yeah, that would have.
On.
Yeah, like I get that you want to create this sense of tension, especially since like Merry and Pippin just got involved, so they have to feel that tension really fast. So I understand the need of it. I don't think the execution works in that scene. I agree. If he had just sat on his horse, it would have worked fine.
I didn't assume they could outrun the horse and its rider for very long.
Well, they they throw that bag off to the side, set the lure away, and then it shows passage of time. They're trying to get away, and then they encounter another one. Or perhaps it's the same one. I mean, you can't really distinguish them.
I assumed it was just the same one.
But you see them come back at night, gotta get on the ferry. You have a little scene there. I mean, that's just like an action scene, basically, right?
Yeah, they get there. They finally reach, was it Brie?
Yeah.
Good old Brie. It's a good cheese. It's all I thought about every time we said Brie. But then, they're doing their thing, and they go into the tavern, the Prancing Pony.
Ah, yes.
Now, I guess before that, you established Gandalf not being there, right? You went back to Gandalf and shown why he's not there.
Oh, yeah, with his confrontation with Saruman.
Yeah.
Kind of
That was bad.
The wizard duel.
That was bad.
Choreography of it?
Just Gandalf is fine. I never really have anything to disparage on Gandalf. But Saruman, man, I don't know what the direction on that is, or if he just sucks. I don't know, but he was not selling any of it to me. Not selling anything about it to me.
Like the acting of like any scene with him?
Yeah, no scene in this film where Saruman is there do I believe in Saruman.
Whew.
I'm not getting it.
Whew, you just made somebody very angry.
Have I? Is it who plays that?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. Is he angry with me? I'm doubtful.
Well, he's dead.
Oh, is he dead? Okay.
Yeah, he died.
So now I've really stepped on all the wrong toes.
A lot of people really love him as Saruman.
I mean, maybe it's great. I just don't know. Like, he doesn't seem exceptionally evil. He doesn't seem like a man who's really been that corrupted. He just seems boring. Like, he just seems like a set piece, right? Now, a lot of people have the same problem, but his like, he's just boring in his delivery. It's just a very even, boring cadence. I don't feel like there's a transition into like, oh, now you're kind of evil. And the wizard duel thing, I don't get it. I don't like, you're just shockwaves at people, I guess. I don't really understand. Like, you can't just, I don't know. I just didn't get it. I didn't understand. It wasn't entertaining. I was kind of like, this is stupid. This seems really out there and not explained. And nope, wasn't having it.
Interesting. The wizard duel itself, I've always been pretty indifferent about. That's not my favorite scene. But I've never had a problem with, like, the delivery. I've always kind of wished there was a little bit more background on Saruman in the film, kind of establishing him a little bit more. But, you know, I also think, do we need another 5 minutes to establish this guy? Probably not.
You've already committed to an exceptionally long film. I'm not going to be bothered if I get answers in an extra 5 minutes if they're good and I'm not asking more questions. Now, I didn't really feel the need to ask a lot of questions there. I was like, oh, he's the leader of your order. I'm not really sure what your order is, I guess, or how you're so cool, or I don't know. Like, this film seemed like he was going off on a fool's errand anyway, and it wasn't going to end well. Like, I got the impression that Gandalf was doing something he thought was right, but it wasn't going to go well. From the get-go. Like, even the first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, great. You're there, you're stuck up on this tower. You get a creepy moth, because I hate moths. Absolutely the worst.
I saw the moth, and I know you dislike him, so I was like, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is
good choice.
Really, they're so creepy and weird. I don't really understand. Like, the moth is clearly communicating with him, and then the eagle comes and saves him. I like that.
I mean, who doesn't love a giant eagle?
I think it would have been more interesting to see him actually jump on top of the eagle, but I realized that would have been too much, and it probably would have looked bad.
Yeah.
At least at that time. And so I forgave that. I moved on. That was the best part of with Saruman, is Gandalf jumping away.
I think that'd be really terrifying. To jump off that tower. Even if you know there's the eagles coming, I'd still be like, oof, I don't know that I want to jump.
I mean, I'm terrified of the jump, but I'm also equally as terrified that I hit this thing, and it's like, nope, too heavy. We just go
drops you.
We just go plummeting.
Oh, that would suck.
Because, like, a whole person jumping from, probably 15, 20 feet up, hitting on your back.
Gonna hurt.
Like, I don't know, you're a big eagle, I get that, but I don't know. I could have used some explanation there, but I knew I wasn't getting any, so I moved on. That's kind of where we started to be like, yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I don't care anymore.
Okay.
I just don't. When does this end? We weren't even done with the first half, and I was like, oh man. But yeah, so now we're all back on the same page basically, because we knew Gandalf wasn't going to be there. They find out Gandalf's not going to be there. You get Strider sitting over in the corner, who I don't feel like is really that creepy or like weird. Like, I feel like if you had done a scene like point of view from Aragorn looking around at them, and like I could have maybe believed that he was kind of creeping on them, but otherwise you didn't really show it to me, you just told it to me, and it didn't work there for me.
The only thing, like, he's got his hood up, and he's clearly cloaking, like, his identity and hiding a lot of facts about himself through it. So I understand how that would be kind of mysterious and maybe a cause for concern, considering everyone else is so open-faced. But I don't know that you're really supposed to be as the viewer scared of him.
No, but I'm supposed to believe that he's, like, after them, right? He's watching them, right? They're over there like, oh, the man in the corner keeps, like, staring at you. Like, you gained a lot from every time he puffs his pipe. Really?
Oh, I don't know.
It doesn't add up, right? You needed a visual to sell the told information, or just to do the visual.
Oh, I don't know. I think it worked fine. I'm not gonna say, like, that's, like, the perfect rendition of the scene, but, like, I'm not bothered by it.
But then, what is it, Pippin or Mary? Which one is it who's the screw-up over there?
Well, they're both screw-ups, according to you.
They are both screw-ups.
The big screw-up is Pip.
Is Pippin?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, and then he goes over there, and the ring falls on his finger. And I went, really? Really? It happened to fall on your finger. That's too much.
Yeah, too much for you?
I wasn't believing it.
It does seem pretty statistically unlikely.
Like, if he had just went over there and been like, oh, I know this will make me disappear, because, you just sold me under the river, Pippin. Okay. Right, if it was just a moment of panic and he had forgotten that he really probably shouldn't put this ring on, I would have moved on.
I don't know, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's clearly, like, it's a little convenient because it's so unlikely. But if you also take into account, like, the ring has its own will, then I think it makes enough sense. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna fall on your finger. And then you know what happens? The ring race know exactly where you're at. Like, makes sense.
You're asking me to be way more engaged than I ever was going to be in this film at that point. If that's what we're going with. Which, that's fine, it does make sense, but that's way more engagement than I was going to have. But then we get good old Aragorn coming up, doing his thing.
Yeah, saving the day.
Saves their lives.
So he does. I've always liked the shot with the four of them walking into the room in the shadows with their swords up. That was always a really cool shot.
It's fine. Like, it serves its purpose, but you know that they're not dying there.
Oh, yeah.
And so I didn't really need it to be as long of a deal. Like, it seemed like you were trying to fake it out and tell me that, they were going to die and they weren't. I knew they weren't. Nobody thought they were.
That is the weirdest part of the scene. It's trying to trick you in a way, but it's like, no one believes this. So I agree that that's not the best part. But the shot of them is cool regardless. And if you just wanted to have a cool shot with them, that's fine.
I guess. Then you get, where you go? They're just running away now?
Yeah. Aragorn's like, alright, well, come with me. We're gonna go to Rivendell. You're not getting your second breakfast. How sad.
I mean, that scene sells a part of the Hobbit culture, though, right?
Yeah, it does.
That's my point. Is Merry and Pippin sell the Hobbit culture better than the actual, monologue does.
That's just a funny scene, too. It's always good. I love the face he makes when the apple comes and hits him in the head. It's a good shot.
It's whatever. I'm like, okay, great. I really don't like the, second breakfast is the meme when he lists like 8 other meals that should be taking place. And I'm like, second breakfast is the meme. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of memes in this film. I feel like by this point in the film, we've already gone past like 10 of them, so.
I don't know how we've gone past 10. I can think of no other memes.
There is a lot of Lord of the Rings memes.
That's because it's too beloved. That's what I'm learning this time around.
Okay.
But maybe in the next 2 episodes, it'll redeem itself and sell it to me.
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
It will do that?
Yeah. I mean, otherwise I just have to kill you, so.
I mean, both outcomes work for me. Anyway, their journey is their journey. It's fine. I knew I was a little more engaged only because I knew like the most memorable scene to me was coming up.
Oh, the horses.
Yeah, the water horses.
Yeah.
My favorite thing. I really like it.
That's cool.
And it's so short-lived, but I remember that very well.
It's a cool scene.
But anyway, they have their confrontation at the watchtower thing.
Yeah.
Where, they're a bunch of idiots. Again, sells the Hobbit culture. They're about the food thing.
Yeah.
And they weren't having Aragorn keep them in check. And then they screwed up.
Gotta have your tomatoes, man.
And they're doing their thing, and bad things happen.
That's just another cool scene, though. With Aragorn, you really see kind of his prowess there. The scene where he throws the torch into the cowl of one of the Nazgul. That's really cool.
I think the choreography of the scene is really good, right? He's really doing a lot of really exaggerated swings, which makes a lot of sense because he's got something in each hand. Presumably, decently heavy.
Oh, a sword's definitely heavy.
And he's making it work. I'm not really sure if, why they get caught on fire and that makes them run away. If they're not living or dead, what does some fire do? I feel like you just, kind of kamikaze that. You just go over and and tackle Aragorn to the ground, and now he's got a flaming person on top of him. Like, sucks to be you, buddy.
That backfired.
That was not a good call. Right? It just doesn't sell it to me because I don't know enough about the Nazgul. Right?
I see.
I needed something that told me something there. Because it kind of seems like I should assume that they're afraid of light. Like fire.
Well, fire.
Because he's like swinging it around, and they kind of back up a little bit.
And then,
but I don't know.
Running water also.
Are they afraid of water?
Whoa.
Or are they afraid of drowning? I'm not really sure. They never learned how to swim. Right? There's just things that I needed something.
My thing with that is that there's a lot of, like, myths and legends of creatures that are, like, afraid to pass running water. So like a river or a stream or something. Like, it's such a common weakness among, like, evil creatures that, like, I don't know if this does it first. Or, I assume because Tolkien, writes a lot of stuff in the idea that this is kind of like the English history, like it's the mythology of Old English, then he's probably pulling from some other legends. So I feel like that's just a natural incorporation. So it doesn't really come across as weird to me.
No, it's not necessarily weird. I just needed the information. I'm having to assume that might be the case, but I don't know that. Because they start to cross.
Well, but you also get it earlier on the ferry, where they don't go into the water, right? And then they have to go to a crossing.
That's just logical sense, right? You are too far out. I'm not gonna, go drown myself. I'm in heavy armor. My horse over here. We're not gonna go play this game. I don't know how deep that is. It's dark. That's just a logical choice. You got far enough away, and I'm not gonna mess with it.
I don't know,
Why do they not have a bow? I'm not really positive.
Swords are cooler, that's why. They wouldn't carry no bow.
Whatever.
But then you see it again where they're hesitating, but then it's like, it's also really shallow, so I guess we'll do what we gotta do.
Well, I feel like their hesitation is more so that she has turned around, right? She has stopped and confronted them, and you gotta be like, well, I don't know. This could be a bad idea. It's also like, they're in the elven territory now. Maybe there's some weird magic there. I wasn't feeling like the hesitation had to be the water, right? Because I can explain the other scene on the ferry away just fine.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. There's too many options. I needed an actual explanation. But I didn't get it. He gets stabbed, and that causes the problems, and then my good friend Arwen comes up.
Yeah?
I like her.
Oh, who doesn't?
I have good things to say about her. But she's not there enough to ruin anything or do things, and she has the coolest scene in the whole first film. So, you win.
Yeah.
Good job.
Her actress, Liv Tyler, can still recite those words. It's always interesting.
Oh, okay. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get there. I like the horse thing. Boom. Takes them out.
Yeah. That would be unpleasant to be hit by.
It would be really bad. But I'm not really sure exactly how he gets saved. They're in elven territory now, so Elrond's magic can reach there, maybe, or he just got taken there quickly enough. I'm not positive exactly what transpires after that.
That's actually the one shot in the film that I don't like. Where I actually go, this isn't quite right to me. Because you get that mix of, several different people on the screen, and, the foreground or background. It's very weird. You get, that blinding light. I'm not a huge fan of that scene myself. Partly because it is a little vague in what's happening. You know that Elrond in some way saves this kid, but you're not really sure where or how.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But then they're all in Rivendell. Frodo wakes up, life's good.
The seats look pretty soft and silky, and the bed he's in, it looks like a comfortable bed.
Well, I wasn't paying attention, honestly. Not the slightest attention.
I actually like paying attention to the clothes and the wardrobe of everybody in this film. It's really cool.
Okay. Nope. I went, well, it's probably all downhill from here. That was my first thought. Because we were past the best scene.
Right.
And I didn't really remember what happened from here. I had zero clue. I was kind of like, okay. We got to get the, meme Boromir scene. But I don't really know where that happens exactly. It happens in Rivendell, clearly, but I don't know. Anyway, so they all meet up, they're all happy, then we have the council.
Yeah.
And that was not really that interesting to me. I was kind of like, okay, great.
It's much longer in the book. That scene.
I could believe that could be more interesting, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty long
I feel
scene.
like this has enough potential that I could read these books and maybe enjoy it. But maybe not.
I mean,
It
you
really
certainly get a
depends.
lot of information in the background in those books, so it could help.
But Elrond is my man. I liked him too.
Yeah, okay.
I just thought he was a good leader, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I know it's the disappointing reason in your world because it happens all the time for why I like someone. But yeah, I just feel like he was a good guy. He was trying to lead his people right, and they're like, Gandalf, this is not happening, buddy. No.
Ring can't be here.
It will move on. So now why all these people show up is not really relevant until you realize they're at this council. And it could have been nice to see some people got sent out, or they got some carrier pigeons. The eagles came and ferried some people away. I don't know. Actually, I guess you really only understand there's the one eagle at this point.
That's true.
He could just be a cool, special, mythical eagle that knows Gandalf.
That's true.
That's not actually true to what's happening there, but if you've ever seen the end, then you know. That's all you'd really know. But anyway, a little more detail could have helped. Again, I was already checked out enough that I moved on. I just went, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I think it's fine, just because you learn pretty quickly. You got a council. These people were summoned. That's all you really need to know.
I didn't need the weird revelation that Aragorn is the rightful king of Gondor here. Didn't need that.
I mean, that's pretty important information.
It is important information, but we're not going to do anything with it for forever.
Well, it's,
right?
It's important because it sets up the relationship between Boromir and Aragorn right there. You also get the scene earlier with Isildur's blade and everything. So they've met, but Boromir doesn't know who he is. And then he learns here. And with that previous scene, he kind of walks away with dropping the blade. It's not the best look. And then you learn who this guy actually is. He's rightfully your king. And that's going to kind of put you off a little bit. And it creates that tension between those two pretty early. I think it works well.
No, I think it could have been better if Aragorn flipped his case at some point while they were on their journey, where Boromir is just over there spouting about how great the city is, and his people are ruling it well, and then Aragorn just gets tired of his crap and is just like, buddy, no. But that doesn't work with the consistency of what they want Aragorn to be for the rest of the film or in films. So whatever. I moved on. I said I'm not going to like this either way. But they all, pledged their service into the, fellowship. Woo!
More memes.
Is that more memes?
And my axe? Oh, yeah.
How is that?
Oh, yeah.
How is that a meme? He's just following the format of everybody else.
Yeah, I understand, but you ever go into message boards, you will find that, guaranteed.
In what way would I use this meme? What's the context?
If you say something and someone's like, oh, yeah, I'll help you out, and then, people start quoting things.
Oh my gosh.
It's not that hard.
That's stupid. Anyway, that whole scene is whatever. Moving along. It establishes who our cool people are.
Fellowship.
And then you get two important scenes with Bilbo.
Indeed.
I feel like that's a good good shot that shows how desperate he is for the ring and how much hold it has.
Yeah.
And it really works.
He looks creepy.
Yeah, I like that. Sets up the Mithril thing. That was useful.
Yeah.
I like that. But then you get, Elrond and Aragorn doing their weird thing about the sword. And I was so confused because I was like, did you reforge the sword or not? I'm not exactly positive.
So in the movie, they do not here. But in the book, they do reforge the sword here. And he does take it from there. That's a pretty big difference, actually.
Well, I just kind of assumed the sword was reforged and that was the sword he was using.
Yeah.
Because it looks pretty similar, if not about the same. But then I was like, I don't remember that well enough, and it was in pieces. I don't know. But Elrond doesn't commit that it has happened. He says we can, but you have to use it. And I don't really know why you have to use it and what you're going to use it for at this point. I know what it gets used for later, but I don't really know what it's used for here. What it would be used for. It's a weird deal to me. But then I guess the other important scene is Aragorn and Arwen having their weird little flirt scene thing. And
yeah.
I like that. I like her lines there.
It's a nice scene. The music there is really nice.
Yeah, the music is always fitting. I never have an exceptional music scene or this was bad music scene. It's always fitting. Did their job right. Again, check the box.
Ooh.
Good job. You didn't fail. But I like her lines there. I do. I like their little exchange.
It's a nice scene.
Something I do not like, we're going to tangent on this, is that the elves speak to each other in their elven tone and whatever, and Aragorn is cool and knows all the elven tongue. And sometimes I know what's being said. And other times it's very clear that they said elvish things, and then the subtitles is speaking in elvish. Why?
Well, with the subtitles, it's just conveying the intent of the scene, being like, you're supposed to understand this, you're not supposed to understand this.
But why should I understand some things and not other things? It's not like, so like it's handled well when they're in the forest way later with the other elf people.
Yeah.
And he's like arguing with the captain guy, right? And I can kind of hear a little bit, but I can't really hear it well enough that I feel like I should know what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But when it's like, you just suddenly stop caring in middle scene, I don't know. And the elves decide to randomly stop speaking in Elvish sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the in and out of the language is more weird to me, but I think that's clearly just meant to convey for the audience the language and how it's like that Aragorn knows it and set a tone and a mood with it.
I don't know, I wasn't all that engaged about it, like with that, but that's fine.
I know that the actors have to go through a lot of tutoring to be able to pronounce the words correctly. It would actually probably be pretty difficult, to be fair.
I agree. It's his own language that he made up and figured it out. So it's learning a new language and saying things right.
You know, people always talk about how, like, Klingon from Star Trek, like, people actually take lessons to learn this language. Are there any, like, classes to learn Elvish?
I don't know. Nobody cares.
Somebody cares.
This is not good enough that you want to learn a language from it.
Neither is Star Trek, so...
You have not seen enough of Star Trek for me to feel like that's a valid statement, and I've seen none of it.
You've seen all... I thought you saw all of it.
That's a sad reality. It might be better than this, though. So... Wow, that's like a look of hatred over here.
Star Trek is something else.
Anyway, but then we can move on and leave the Rivendell area. I don't love all the shots in Rivendell, like shots of the actual city of Rivendell. Some of them look kind of cheap, like you just didn't really do a very good job with it.
I do think some of them just show their age a little bit now. And then there's one shot in particular, and I think it's Legolas coming in, where you see him on his horse, and it's far away, and it looks very picturesque. I like the shot as like a shot in of itself, like it's really beautiful, but it doesn't fit with the rest of the film. Like it looks like a painting almost.
Yeah, there's several shots in Rivendell that are that bad.
I don't know if that's time. I don't know if that's a decision. I'm not really sure. It doesn't bother me a whole lot, at least. Like
it was noticeable, and I moved on.
Every time I see that scene, I look at the waterfalls, and you can see the water moving. So I'm always a little interested in that, actually, that aspect of it.
No, but you get a nice little deal where Frodo is directionally challenged. You know which way he's supposed to go.
How relatable.
I like that. No, yeah, I only liked that because I suck at directions.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's kind of funny. But then they're just wandering, right? Like they're going on their trip, doing their thing.
Well, yeah, Gandalf's clearly the party lead, and he's like, all right, well, we got to go this way for 40 days. This is going to take a while, but this is where we're going. And then it shows some shots of them traveling along. Doesn't really say how long it's been since they left, just that it'll be 40 days to get where they're going. But we don't reach that destination, so we don't really know how long it's actually been.
Yeah, but then during that time, you also get what? Saruman and his nonsense?
Yeah, you start to establish Saruman with the orcs, and then them orcs are, I think they're orcs. It's hard to tell the difference between the orcs and the goblins, but I think the goblins are in the Moria, and the orcs are with Saruman. I think that's right. And then
there has to be orcs in the mines because the blade glows. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the blade glows, but they also state that it was goblins who took them out because Legolas comes in the mines of Moria, picks up the arrow, and says goblins.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure on the whole distinct glow with both orcs and goblins. I don't remember those details off the top of my head, and I have a hard time distinguishing between them. But you get Saruman, and then he's making like the Uruk-hai.
It's just kind of weird. Like, the whole thing of them, like, making an army is weird, and, like, they're tearing down all the trees, and I'm not really sure what for, and I just didn't really get that. Now, knowing, like, you know, that the treants or whatever exist and that whole deal makes more sense retroactively, but it doesn't really make sense if you're just watching this film.
I don't know, like you're trying to get down into the earth. and the trees are on the way.
Why are you trying to get down into the earth? What's the purpose?
For the Urukai.
You have to go find the Urukai, or did you make the Urukai?
I don't really remember on that. The Urukai, I think, are born of like a combination of goblin and orc or something.
That's what he says.
And so I don't really know the exact details of that process.
Yeah, he's making them. He makes the perfected version of them. And the Urukai are cool things, I guess. I don't know.
And they're like born inside this like muddy, bloody
embryo sac in the ground. Oof. Whatever.
That would have been an interesting scene to film. Like, that must have been kind of gross.
Oh, yeah, that probably wasn't very pleasant. But, like, having to be any of the extras on that was probably pretty garbage and unpleasant.
Would have been hot, that's for sure.
But anyway, cover that, which then, we figure out Saruman's spying on them, messing with them with his bats, so then they have to go up to the mountain. Because we're not going through the Mines of Moria. We will not go through the Mines of Moria. He is not having it.
Yeah, he's not a fan. So we're going to go through the mountain pass with the snow.
I feel like that was well established, right? Because beforehand, it seems weird that Gandalf's like, no, we're not going through the Mines of Moria. And you're like, what's wrong with this suggestion? Like, I don't know. But then when Saruman's kind of back and forth play, you're like, aw, buddy. So I feel like that was good. I really liked how they played that out. It sold to me why we were trying to avoid the Mines of Moria.
Okay. That's fair.
But then they're up in the snow, and I'm immediately frustrated by the lack of shoes, which we've already went on. We're not going to go back over that.
You also just love the snow, I know.
I hate the snow, but I don't mind the look of the snow necessarily. I just don't want to deal with the snow ever in my life.
Right.
But they're up there looking miserable, not having a good time, and then they're forced to, retreat back into the Mines of Moria. And I really thought that took too long to get in. I like where, Gandalf is over there being mean to... which I don't even remember which one is which. Pippin. Where he's just like, I'm gonna bash your head against the door, and if that doesn't avail me, then I'm gonna try everything else I was gonna try. Like, it's sold so well of his just, like, frustration, his plans aren't going right, he wanted to avoid this route. And then there's this young kid trying to tell you what to do and be a mocking jerk. And I felt that. That was good. Gandalf sold that.
It's a good line.
Whoever plays Gandalf sold that for me.
Sir Ian McKellen.
You say that like it's like a basic fact. Like 2 + 2 is 4.
He's an exceptionally famous person in the acting world.
Okay, well, he did good here. I have no problems with Sir Ian McKellen.
That's good.
Is it good?
I mean, if you had said both Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen were a problem, man, there might have been a riot.
Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. This is my hot take on everything, so,
That's true.
But they just sit there for forever, and he reads the riddle the first time, and I had forgotten how long this scene was going to take. I just thought, yeah, that's the answer to the riddle.
Speak, friend, and enter.
Why is that? What are we doing? Takes forever. And then, we disturb the water, and I was like, I'm not sure how you know that he shouldn't disturb the water if you're just being cautious, but you seem to know a lot, Aragorn. Like a dang lot.
He's quite knowledgeable.
And I needed to know where he gets all his knowledge from.
Well, he's a ranger.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, we don't really say what the rangers
are.
But You know what? We as an audience have some conception of what a ranger is.
Yeah, that's not my problem. My problem is how he seems to have all this intimate knowledge of a lot of things frequently.
Well, you see,
I just kind of wanted to know that.
He's well read. He has a history in Rivendell with the elves, who are quite knowledgeable.
I mean, I guess would have been nice to have just a little bit more there for me to know. But I moved on.
Okay.
From that for the most part. But I wanted to throw that in there while we were talking about it. But you get, the Kraken thing. They finally get in. It's all just kind of a dramatic scene to be a dramatic scene. I didn't feel like that was really necessary. Could have avoided this weird Kraken thing.
Well, it had to find a way to push them into the mine.
They were in the mines.
Yeah, but then they were going to leave the mines.
I don't know. Gandalf didn't seem convinced that they had to leave the mines. Other people were not happy. But I feel like if Gandalf had been like, nope, this is the path, we're going. We're not doing any more backtracking, we just need to move on and get forward. They would have done it.
No, I think the impression is that they were going to leave, and then, oh, look, now the cave is collapsed. Or the door. Guess we're going forward.
Okay, I don't know. Whatever. They have to go forward and do their thing, and that is not realistically that interesting to me.
I really like the path. Like, it looks really perilous. There's a couple moments where it's like, that's a really narrow path. I feel like I would fall just trying to walk this. Like, I'd be like, yeah, I can walk this, no problem, and then I'd fall and die.
They're pretty narrow paths, which I feel like is important because it's a dwarf mind thing. And so it was a good direction to sell that to me, that this was a dwarven thing. Now, it kind of breaks itself apart later when they enter this massive hall, and you're like, what? Really? That seems exceptionally excessive.
Little ostentatious.
But whatever. But they, enter the tomb of Gimli's whatever. I've forgotten already.
Well, you missed a pretty important part.
Oh, what important part have I missed?
That Gollum is following them.
I don't care about Gollum.
Yeah, but he's pretty important.
He's following them. That's all you need to say.
And then you got a really good speech by Gandalf.
Oh, you really like that speech?
I love that speech. That might be, in this film, that might be the best line. But, there's 3 or 4 scenes where I feel like this might be the best. But that's one of the best for sure.
It's just like sagely advice from Gandalf.
Oh, but it's so good.
Okay.
Oh, man, that...
You can be wrong.
That's one of those quotes where I'm like, yeah, this is a good quote. I love it. It's really good.
I think it's a good scene, and I like the lines that are written. Again, you did your job right. There's no need for exceptional praise when you do your job right. My boss doesn't come up to me after I do something right and is like, wow, that's really good.
Maybe
he doesn't acknowledge me at all. He just moves along.
You're saying this, but I'm like, what's a live action film that has dialogue that's really exceptional?
There's lines that are exceptional?
Yeah.
I don't have a catalog of lines that I've heard in live action films that I think are exceptional. Or for anything, generally. Like, the only line that I can think of that I remember as really exceptional is from a little podcast thing from Simon Sinek. And I've only listened to 3 or 4 of those episodes.
That is truly...
That's a really out there thing.
Yeah, that's
that almost nobody is gonna get.
Yeah, okay.
But he has a good line there that I really like. I mean, sometimes I will try and keep quotable things. Jessica Jones has a lot of good quotable things. I had it on a notepad at one point, and then it went away. It got deleted somehow.
Okay.
But I don't generally remember them for super long. I'll just be like, oh, that was a good line. Good job, Gandalf. Again, Gandalf delivers.
Alright, I feel like I understand what you're saying, but a lot of these lines have stuck with me since I saw this film in theaters way back, 20 years ago. And, some of these lines, these stuck with me for a long time. And
that's crazy.
I really feel like the writing in this is really good. Really sticks with you. Now, part of that, of course, is the writing, and part of it is the delivery. Definitely can't undersell that. But all of that coming together, it really sticks with me.
Okay. I don't know. I also saw this film in theater, surprisingly enough. Because you saw every film in theater, and I have seen feels like nothing. But I remember getting to the end of this film. It's distinct memory as a child, and being finally. We are going to leave the theater now. Legit. I was not interested. It was not doing it for me at all. That's the only thing I remember about seeing it in theater, too. It's just being finally.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, and then I've seen the extended edition, at least one outside of that. So this is at least the 3rd time I've seen this film. And I could not have quoted you any quotes from this that aren't exceptionally memed.
I have no idea how many times I've seen this film. A lot.
But anyway, Gollum's following them, and you like that scene far more than it deserves. Got it.
Yep. And then we, figure out the right pathway to go down, and then we get to a tomb.
Which was fine. We learn that, Gimli's whatever has died. His cousin. How sad, Gimli. Your cousin died.
Yeah. And then you get a good scene with Pippin. Just getting up to some good, intelligent ideas.
I mean, he's an idiot. Now, I like that we stop everything. And it goes on so long, and he looks like he acts it so well, where he's just like, oh, yeah, and we can write,
please stop.
And he's just kind of shrinking himself. He's like, oh, man.
I fucked up.
Yeah, I feel like that was exceptional, right? I'll give you that. That performance on the acting of him was exceptional.
It's really good.
That's more than doing your job.
And then Gandalf is just like, next time rid us of your stupidity.
It's a funny line, though.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. That little interaction and scene was good. And then we get into them fighting. And I was like, okay.
I feel like this is the first real big action scene of the film. And we're pretty far into the film, but this is like the first one that's like, okay, this is like a real battle.
Yeah, it's a real battle. I mean, you get the Kraken thing where Legolas shows that he's the coolest archer ever, even though he's an elf, and I already believed that about him. So, but that's fine. Because he does the shot, like, in between both their heads.
Yeah.
And into the Kraken, and I'm like, buddy, good thing you didn't miss. But if I was me, I might have to make a comment about how you should have, maybe shot above, arced it down, used your bow skills in a maybe more impressive fashion that didn't involve being next to my head.
I like how neither of the men, like, flinch at it. They're just like, yeah, implicit trust that he's not going to miss.
Oh, yeah, they're just running through. But anyway, back to the actual action sequence here. Yeah, they barricade the door, and they start shooting him down, and they start fighting. And I don't necessarily think it's bad, but I wasn't overly interested. And then the cave troll comes in. Also, I would like to point out, this is a good example. You gave me a one line that explained everything I needed to know about the creature that was coming in the door.
It's a cave troll.
Yeah, right. I didn't need anything exceptional. You just gave me the information easily and simply. How you randomly knew that was a cave troll by the sound? I guess because they exist all the time everywhere.
Well, he was looking around and seeing what was out there when the arrows came flying at, but he's like, oh, I saw that thing.
I don't know. I thought it was just a sound thing.
No.
I didn't see him looking out there.
He was definitely looking.
Anyway, they have a cave troll, and that's most of the action sequence is the cave troll.
Yeah, it's a fair bit of it.
And I really just wasn't that engaged with the cave troll thing. I also just feel like Gandalf wasn't doing much. Like, I feel like Gandalf is this cool guy, and then he does basically nothing in that scene. It feels like...
He uses his sword.
And his staff. He's doing his thing.
The thing I like about the scene is there's just a couple shots where it shows them all working together to take this thing down. And that's really cool. The whole movie feels very video gamey, almost like this movie inspired a lot of, well, not just the movie, but like Lord of the Rings in general, inspired a lot of fantasy going forward, like D&D, and then that inspires a lot of video games. Obviously, the DNA is there. But there's a lot of really cool scenes where you'll see like Gimli come in with the axe, and you'll see Legolas with the bow, and you got the hobbits on the head stabbing, and they're all working to take this thing down. But it's still putting up a big resistance. I think it's really cool as it shows like the party as a functioning together and making it work. And then you get like a scene where Boromir's hurt, but like Aragorn, even though they're kind of butting heads a lot, they're still helping each other out. Like, we're allies. I'm not gonna let you die. It's, they all show some concern for each other. Like, there's a lot of party dynamic there that I really like the details of and is really nice.
I think it works, but it doesn't work super well because you're restricted by being a live action film, right? Because there's like anime that have done similar things where you're all like working together. Like in a video game, you get some like, sequences where everybody's working together, and it works because you can do a lot of animation tricks and things that really keep the fluid motion of that and make it work really well.
Yeah.
And so maybe that has tempered my expectation of what the scene should be. But I didn't hate the scene. I just wasn't that engaged.
I don't know. I actually think, like, visually, I think the Cave Troll also holds up very well for, especially, considering its age. Like, the scene holds up well, but the visuals in this film in general hold up really well. And the only shot that's really weird looking is when Legolas jumps off its back, and you can see, like, okay, that's looking a little funky. But I thought that looked a little funky when it came out. Like, that was always a little weird, but...
Oh, I didn't pay enough attention to it.
Oh.
I don't really care.
No, but yeah, Frodo gets stabbed, almost.
Kind of.
But not really.
I don't really understand why he acts like he's, like, in so much massive pain.
I like to think he's just playing dead. He's like, you know what? Play dead here.
It was weird to me, because he acted like he'd been stabbed. Like, the acting and direction of that is, you got stabbed.
Well, it probably also hurt, regardless.
It would hurt, but I'm like, I don't know. It was too over dramatic for me to believe in that. Then they start the run.
Oh yeah, they gotta get out.
Yeah, and I like that the goblins, I assume they're goblins, are like, they're like, oh yeah, oh no, we don't. We don't want any part of this anymore. We are leaving.
Yeah, they're all surrounded. You get the sense there's a lot of these guys surrounding us. This is a bad situation. But yeah, you hear a loud roar and then this light, this fiery light, shine up, kind of far away, and all these things are just like, nah, I am not staying for this. And then they're out. They're skedaddling.
Yeah, I like that. It gives me an impression that this thing is a big, bad deal. You already know what it is, right? We've established that. And it looks pretty well like the illustration. Good call.
Mm-hmm.
Made everything work together. And then they just run. That run scene goes on too long.
With like the staircase.
The staircase in particular is a bad deal. I really wanted Aragorn to throw Frodo from the really far away point. I just wanted to be like, nope. Whoa. You do it.
I feel like myself, if I'm in that scenario, even though when we first get there and it's not that big of a jump, I feel like I'd be scared to jump though. I'd be like, what if I jump and then I trip and then I just roll down the stairs? I'm dead. Like, this is just kind of a scary situation.
I did some jumps in real life where I was like, that's a little sketchy. And then it's been like muddy. And then you just like slip and fall.
Oof.
Yeah, and you're like an idiot. And you're like, oh, that was intelligent, wasn't it?
That a good idea?
Yeah. But other than that, no, I feel like if I think it's a pretty clear, solid deal just to jump and go, I'd probably be okay at first.
Yeah, you'd be like...
After that, though, I don't know that I'm feeling comfortable.
Ooh, I'm surprised Gimli, he's like, nah, don't throw me. I got this.
He's got his pride.
But he's definitely got his pride.
He's still intact, too. His beard didn't get pulled out.
I mean, that's good. That would be a shame.
Be mildly funny.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of a drawn-out sequence, I'll grant you.
Way too long.
But again, I'm like, whatever. I'm enjoying it.
I wasn't really enjoying it, because then the goblins come back, and they suck.
Yeah.
They're a bad shot.
They're not good.
And Legolas is over here just like, one shot, everything. I'm the coolest guy you've ever seen.
I'm gonna shoot you through the forehead from quite the distance.
He's pretty far away.
Yeah.
He can't really see them.
He's like...
Well, he's got better eyes than everybody else, I guess, but...
He knows what he's doing.
I like that Legolas is consistently the coolest bowman ever. Right. The consistency of it really saves it. Right. And just the expectation that elves are, archers and the coolest people ever on that front. The scene itself goes on way too long. And then it finally, reaches them.
Get to the bridge.
And the bridge. And you're just like, okay. This scene has also been memed too much. I don't care anymore.
Is this the most famous line of
I don't know.
Lord of the Rings? It's hard to say, but
I feel like the Boromir thing gets memed more often.
For a meme, yes. But for a line of recognizability, you shall not pass. I don't know. That's a pretty well-known line.
Whatever. But that's a whole weird deal.
What do you think of the look of the Balrog? Do you think that still looks pretty good?
I like that. Yeah. It works really because you knew what you were doing. It's dark. And everything about him that is kind of irrelevant for me to be able to see is dark. But I get the fire. I can see that. It gets this cool thing. I don't really know what all these weird, flames that, Gandalf is the master of or whatever wields and why that matters. That line really ruins that scene for me. Because I'm like, what are all these things? Oh, you're not... Action continues.
Well, if you were a wizard, you would know.
It just didn't sell it to me. I didn't get it.
I'm not bad. I'm like, okay, you're a wizard. You're gonna know incantations. Great.
Is he using them there? It sounded like those were like certain spells or like certain accolades in his... I don't know what was really happening. And I didn't know that I needed to know any of those things till you made a line about them. Like, you shot yourself in the foot on that. I wasn't gonna question it. I was just gonna go cool. Whatever. But you didn't do that.
The cool lines, again... Delivery's cool. Like, it's just a cool scene, but a lot of that's just like the Balrog is like a really cool creature. Would probably be pretty scary to see something like that in life. And then Gandalf takes a little tumble.
And he's dead.
He's fallen.
I appreciate once they get out. He's already set up. He already knew he was probably gonna have to sacrifice himself, and he's dead. Aragorn, it's on you, buddy. It was a good setup. And then they get out there, and Aragorn's like, all right, let's go. Like, we don't got time. Yeah, it sucks. We don't have time.
Yeah.
Like, it displays his good leadership skills. I respected that. I was engaged in that scene.
That is another one of those scenes that is one of the most memorable for me. Now, when I saw this as a kid, I was definitely crying.
You were crying over that?
Oh my, I cried when I saw this movie. I probably cried like 3 or 4 times. I still get teary-eyed in like 5 scenes in this movie.
Is this the first one, or have we already passed one?
I think we might have passed one. I'm not 100% sure. But there's several parts of this movie where I still get teary-eyed. That's one of them But this scene, in particular the shot where he's like, Frodo, where the heck? And then Frodo looks back and you just got that shot of him looking sad but like determined still. Like he knows he has to carry on. Like it's his duty, but he's still torn up. That scene is the scene that basically dictates for the rest of my life my taste in genre and film and books. It's like the definitive scene of like, this is exactly what art is.
I have nothing but shock about everything you just said. Nothing can describe how shocked I am that is that important.
It really, the scene there, I connected with it as a child so much. I love high fantasy in particular. I also like low fantasy, something like Harry Potter. I don't mind something like that. But in general, high fantasy, that's what I read. It's what I really have a passion for. I really love it. And that moment really instilled in me something of wonder and like it's sad, but there's like a heroism to it, and like this sense of like duty and manifesting like that sense of duty into strength and pushing forward and showing like you as a ring bearer, you have the medal. Everybody else, even like these seasoned warriors, Aragorn is showing his determination, but everybody else, right, is torn up. And you can see that Frodo is also really torn up, but he knows he has to continue on and he's not hesitating. And that's so powerful and palpable. It's so good.
Wow, I would never have guessed that was that important.
Yeah,
never in my life.
Yeah, that scene, the music, oh my god, it's so good.
It's a good scene. I was actually engaged in that scene, but it did not revolutionize my life in any fashion.
Yeah.
And I forgot all about that scene. I legit don't remember that scene. And then we got out, and I was like, man, what do we even do? Like, where do we even go from here? Like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about what's about to happen. And then we got there, and I was like, oh, this is a good scene. And then I don't feel like the cut transition after that is good.
Oh, that is a weird cut where they go from, like, Aragorn be like, oh, look. And then they're running into the forest like, okay. To me, it feels like a cut, like we just went to commercial and now we're back.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a bad cut, but then they're in the forest. That's funny with Gimli. It's just because you clearly know they're setting it up for him to be the one who gets the short end of the stick here. And they all show up and they're like, we could have shot, the dwarf breathes so loudly, we could have shot him in the dark. And I went, that's a scathing insult.
You really get the sense that the dwarves and the elves are not best friends.
Yeah, but I just thought I liked that line.
It's a funny line.
It's funny. It shows how stupid you guys are and how, like, someone should have seen it. But we're going to pick on the dwarf very specifically because you suck.
Indeed.
But then they're over there with the elf people. They meet Gladriel and her weird counterpart. I don't know. The Lord and Lady of Light, I guess.
Well, he's not the Lord of the Light. She's the Lady of Light.
Whatever.
She's super cool, right? You know, she's got a ring. She's old.
She is really old. I mean, her design is good.
She looks very beautiful in that scene, and like her gown and everything. Like, it's a really cool scene.
I don't think she looks any more or less attractive than any of the other elves. Like, it wasn't selling it to me as like she's exceptionally attractive.
I don't know that I'd use the word attractive. To me, that kind of implies like some like ulterior motives. Not that that's fair, but I feel like that's how it's used. I really get the sense of like a queenly display from her. Like, there's like a majesticness to it.
She's in charge. Woohoo. What do you want from me? She's a elf woman, and she's in charge of these people. That's okay.
I feel like you would see more elf women, other than, just these. I guess you do in Rivendell, but you don't really see any here.
I see women as they're walking.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel like there's women in that scene where the first time they're walking, the elves are walking to their ship or whatever. That's also an actual important scene that we just kind of moved over.
That's not in the theatrical version.
Oh, that sets a lot of the tone though for things later with the elves, and
yeah, I mean,
it really sets the scope that the elves are leaving, and so that was good. That was a good thing to include. Anyway, back to, whatever forest we're in. She talks to all of them in their mind, weirdness. I don't really understand. I just moved on. You're an elf. You can be cool. Because why would I get answers to things?
The answer is magic.
About things that I want. But that's a whole weird deal. I feel like And then I remember the scene with her, like, going crazy in the weird, like, negative shot thing. And I remember thinking, that was weird. And then we got there, and I went, oh, yeah, this is super weird. It's not weird. A good choice. It doesn't explain a lot. It's bad.
I'm also pretty sure that one is also not in the theatrical version. I think that's an extended version. But I've only ever seen the theatrical version one time in my life. It is pretty difficult to distinguish the two. But I think so.
I don't know. I wasn't loving that. I didn't really get it. I didn't like it. Felt like it was kind of a waste of time. But then they provide them with all their gifts.
Indeed.
And Sam has a nice funny line. Like, you could tell he feels gypped, but then I just like that he's trying to be nice and, like, peacekeeping about it. He's like, oh, did you run out of the cool fancy daggers? like, not like, where's my dagger? Where's my cool weapon? No, like, did you run out? You know, it's funny.
Good old Sam. I mean, a rope's pretty useful, though.
It could be useful. I assume it gets used later, but I don't actually know that. I don't remember. But then Gimli's thing immediately was just like, that's stupid. I don't like this. I don't like any of it. You got a weird hair fetish. I guess. I don't know, buddy.
Should ask for a feet pic.
Oh, that'd be bad. Okay. You don't need no feet pics. Don't be bringing degenerate fetishes over here into this. Anyway, but they all get their gifts, and that's cool.
I like that Legolas gets a new bow. Like, you know, yours is probably fine, but here's a cool bow. All right, sure.
It seemed like it was like a gift from like a cool warrior type thing, and they were just getting rid of all their cool stuff that could still be useful, while still saying, peace out.
They're like, oh, we got this junk hanging around.
Really junk. Like, it felt like it was their treasures.
This could just be useful, I suppose. Here you go.
It felt like there was their treasures that they were parting with because they were leaving. They said peace out. They said we're done. And I feel like that worked.
Yeah, we'll never meet again. How sad.
It was sad. Not really. Then they're going down the river, and I'm like, man, we're almost done, right? Like, this is like a couple more minutes, and we're done, right?
Yeah, like 2 minutes.
And then it doesn't. It takes forever. You're going down, doing your thing. But they finally, you know, get to the last big deal.
Get to the waterfall at the end.
Yeah, where then they're, you know, they enter their fight scene. And I went, okay, like, your choreography is good. This action sequence still feels kind of weird and not like it was relevant.
As far as the action scene goes, I like when Aragorn turns around the corner and then he's just like, well, there's like a lot of you and there's one of me, but I'm going to face it down. Like, that's just a badass look. Like, he just looks cool there. But the important part is that you get Boromir, who finally kind of falls to the temptation of the ring and tries to take it from Frodo. Frodo gets away, and then Boromir shows like, I blew it. That's not good. And then you get to that action scene. I feel like I think the fight in Moria is cooler, but I like a lot of the shots here. The action scene's cool, but I mean, ultimately an action scene's an action scene. They're fun to watch, but the substance isn't huge.
The one detail I really like about this scene is just after where Aragorn has confronted them, he's moved to the stairs where he knows he has to funnel them. And he's like, you know, using that he's up higher to his advantage and like throwing some of them off. And like the details of the choreography there were good. I appreciated that a lot. But other than that, I have nothing else to really say about that scene. Like, there's nothing else that really matters to me in that scene.
Well, you get Frodo seeing Merry and Pip, and they're like, oh, come over here. And he's like, nah. And you get Merry, who's like, oh, you know, he sees that he's just not entirely stupid. And he's like, he's leaving, and then they cause a distraction, and then that gives Frodo the opportunity to get to the boat, which is important. And then as they're leading those forces away, Boromir comes in, saving them, blowing the horn. I like that interaction of him using the horn that you've seen shots of throughout the film.
I noticed the horn early, and I was like, oh, cool, here, maybe you'll use this horn at some point. And then you hear it first, right? You don't see him blow it.
Yeah, you hear it.
And you know, right? If you've seen the horn, you know it's Boromir. He's blowing the horn. He needs help.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, that's the Horn of Gondor.
Yeah, they go answer. They don't get there in time, but they go to answer.
Yeah, and like that's a really cool, detailed moment where like it rewards your attention. And I just like the interplay between it. And then, of course, you get, you know, Boromir just taking a few arrows to the chest.
Yeah, he takes the 3 arrows, and I wasn't having it. I was kind of having it the first arrow. Like, okay. And then he uses both arms at one point while he still got the arrow just lodged in his shoulder over here. And I'm like, I don't care how manly and cool you think you are. You are not moving that arm. It's not happening. You will not, no. I mean, maybe it's possible, but I wasn't believing it. Right?
I don't know the logistics of possibility in this case.
The arrow is in his shoulder. He raises it all the way up and two-hand strikes.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Like, you're in your death throes, like, you know you're probably dead, and you're just expending all your energy. Like, that's fine.
No, I wasn't believing it. He was using one hand for a while, and I was believing that. But then I stopped believing after that, and I was like, okay, cool. This Rakai thing is using arrows, whatever. You take a bunch of them out, and Merry and Pippin are doing their part to help you, and then they realize the tide has turned and they get screwed over.
Man, they're captured, and then Boromir's down on his knees and about to get killed, and Aragorn comes in, has a duel with this guy, which I always like the shield getting thrown at him, and then he's, like, stuck, and, like, that'd be a pretty scary moment.
It doesn't actually feel like he's stuck, though, right? It feels like he's pretending to be stuck, and then so that he comes closer, and then he can just duck out under and screw with him.
I think the acting betrays him being actually stuck well there, but it's a pretty quick shot.
No, because the shield's still stuck in there. He doesn't pull the shield all the way out.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't seem like the shield moves at all. It looks like he is acting like he's trying to get it off, but knows that he can get out.
I mean, maybe that's it, but that was never my impression.
So that he can stab him in the leg. That goes all the way through the leg, too.
Yeah, it does.
But that scene pays itself off with the lines earlier of, like, you will have no fear or whatever and all these things. You were just, like, a killing machine. And then when he grabs the sword after he's been stabbed in the chest and pulls Aragorn closer, that scene is good until, like, I'm like, that's pretty quick for you to basically pull the full length of your sword out and slice his head off in that same time frame. That's a lot of strength. And you're Aragorn, you're cool, I get that. But I was so ready to be done that I was just becoming real critical of things.
I really like the part where he takes that dagger out of him and licks it and then throws it at Aragorn. And then Aragorn, like, deflects it using the blade. Like, that's a really cool shot, too.
I mean, it's decent.
I think that's pretty cool.
It's good.
He kills him and then runs over to Boromir, who's, not doing well. And then you get, of course, another really memorable line with my brother, my captain, my king. That's another scene where, oh my god, tears were going.
Really?
Oh my god, yeah.
That's so sappy.
Oh no, it's so good.
Sappy and good are not the same term.
Oh no, I think you're misjudging the scene, Nietzsche. It's very good.
It's so predictable. Right? You know it's coming. You know once he's lying there. Basically, he takes the second arrow. And I was like, oh, there's going to be a scene where they reconcile. Isn't there? Because I've forgotten. And he's going to say something about him being his king. Oh, wow. How impressively interesting that was.
It can be the most predictable thing in the world. I don't care. It's still so good. That's one of my favorite scenes in the entire trilogy, though.
Lies.
Like, generally, I bounce between 1 and 3 being my favorite of the 3 films. But this is one of the scenes that, like, makes me think, but maybe the first film's the best. That's a really good scene.
Nope, it's not.
Oh, man.
It's serviceable, and we move on.
Oh, man. I really feel the emotion and everything in it. You hear, like, the regret that Boromir feels. I really feel like Boromir is actually a really good character, though. And you really understand him. And that scene, you can really tell that he regrets some of his choices there, especially with Frodo, and that he thinks that he's, failed. And then to acknowledge, like, Aragorn and, like, thinking that, like, this, you're a good man and everything. Oh, man. It's so good.
Okay, I mean, you can be wrong yet again, because we all know I'm right.
This is one thing I am not wrong in.
Everybody's going to support me, I know. Feeling very confident that everybody supports my opinions of Lord of the Rings over here.
Yeah.
But then you get the final deal of just Sam running out there almost drowning.
Yeah, that's how you get him to come back. You're like, if I drown myself, he'll definitely have to come save me.
I took it as just like I made my promise.
That's definitely not what it was. I'm just joking. But
yeah, I made my promise, and I will die, or I will keep the promise.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's just sawn out. Aston coming in with his acting as Sam, just really selling it to me. And you really get the sense that these two are, like, friends and, like, really care about one another. And, like, there's a sense of loyalty. And, like, nah, man, you're not alone. I'm going with you. You're not stopping me. And And they make it to the other side.
Yeah, they make it, and then you're done. Like, you figure out what everybody's doing, and you're done.
Yeah, and you're like, whew.
And I was like, man, that was so long. Why was that so long? I just don't feel like we got anywhere. I don't feel like we did much. I just don't feel like I have answers to a lot of things. I get that we're setting things up, but I don't really know what we set up or where we're really going off of this, because I don't remember much. I remember tree ants.
Yeah.
And I remember ring gets destroyed. Aragorn becomes king. He uses the ghosts thing for some reason, whatever that is. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically all I remember going forward from here. Like, I don't remember these films, which is why I don't understand how great they are. Like, I've seen them at least twice, and if they are not memorable enough, then I don't know what was great about them. But anyway, we've walked through the story. Is there anything else that we didn't cover in that you need to say, talk about, any other ridiculously effusive praise you want to put out here?
Oh, yeah, of course. You know, people like to bring up, like, John Williams as being like, well, he's such an amazing guy for, you know, music and films. But I'm telling you right here, right now, Howard Shore and his tracks and music in this film are way better than John Williams. Anything Howard Shore did here is better than anything that John Williams has ever done in any of his films. I'm just saying.
Give me a John Williams something that I would know.
Jurassic Park.
Oh, well, we already know. You can go listen to how much I hated that.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is not better than this.
He's done a few things.
Yeah, Star Wars music is... Well, Star Wars is worse than this film. All three films are worse than this film.
That's true.
Basically. I mean, I like the Ewoks a lot, but you can go listen to how much I like the Ewoks in that episode if you really want. But they don't carry that far enough for me.
Yeah, no, the music in this is another essential piece of the puzzle. And man, it's so good.
The music is good. It's not exceptional. It serves its purpose and does what it needs to do. If you had been a little more creative and not used the same track about 8 times and changed the tempo, maybe I'd move on. Maybe I'd be like, oh, that was exceptional. But you created a piece that worked, and you used it appropriately, so I'm not going to bash you for that, but I'm not going to claim you're exceptional about it either. Any other craziness that you want to put out here?
Oh, is there any more lavish praise I could heap upon this film?
Yeah, I feel like there is, but do you need to say anything else? Does the world need to know more about your impressions from this film or how great it is?
We got 2 more films. I'll say some more things there.
Okay, so you're good.
Yep.
All right. I was just say this film was not as good as I thought it was gonna be. I thought I was gonna like this more than I did. I remember liking it more the last few times I watched it than I did this time.
Maybe it's the expectations.
I mean, part of it probably is the expectation, but it's been a real pleasure hearing about your you're just ridiculous opinions that are so far beyond anything that I have ever expected to hear about how great this film was. It's been a real pleasure showing you how wrong you were. And just the fact that now the world knows the correct way to view this film.
I'm glad we did that for them.
And if you receive some pleasure from this, I'm going to need you to like, subscribe, comment, and leave me some suggestions of other things that I can give you the correct view and opinions on. That'd help a lot.
Indeed.
You know, share this around.
You could also go and write a message in the sky using fireworks. Really get the word out all about us.
I'd respect that. I'd really respect if you made a fireworks display that showed just, trying to share this around.
Yeah,
I'd respect that.
Post some pictures.
I'd give you some high praise for that. All right, I'm gonna start with scores this time, and we'll end on your ridiculous 20 out of 10 number over here that I'm expecting at this point.
Yeah.
So I am giving this a 6 out of 10.
Well, I'm gonna up that a little bit, just a little bit. I'm gonna go to a 9.75. Have at us.